Everyone is unique. It's fine. Doesn't matter. You're doing a very good job. Yeah, just put it on YouTube. Yeah, you can start. Just a second. Let me just mute all and then you can unmute yourself. Go ahead, Mrinal.
Do you want to start with the shloka?
Yeah, okay. Oh. 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 ॐ ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वधी साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं चैव ततो जयमुदीरयेत्
Yesterday we stopped at shloka 34. Should I have start, Brahmaraj?
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
इन्द्रियस्येन्द्रियस्यार्थे रागद्वेषो व्यवस्थितौ तयोर्नवशमागच्छेत् तौ तौ हस्य परिपन्थिनौ Indriyasya arthe, with reference to the object of every sense organ, raga, dvesho, attachment and aversion, vyavasthitau are there, tayo, of these two, vasham, spell, na, not, agachet, should come under, he, because, tau, these two, asya, once, paripanthinau, enemies. There is attachment and aversion with reference to every sense object. May one not come under the spell of these two because they are one's enemies. Repetition of the word indriyasya here is an example of language style used in Sanskrit called vipasa. First, let us take the expression Indriyasya Arthe, meaning with reference to an object, Arthe of a given sense organ, Indriyasya. In other words, a sense object. By repeating the word Indriyasya in the phrase Indriyasya Indriyasya Arthe, the meaning conveyed is with reference to every sense object. The repetition conveys the meaning of every. This verse tells us that with reference to every sense object, there are two factors. There are two factors present: raga, dvesha, likes, dislikes. This verse is the key to everything that has been said thus far and contains the entire psychology of Gita. The senses themselves do not have an aversion or an attachment to the sense objects. They are merely reporters. What is said here is that with reference to every sense object, there can be raga or dvesha on the part of a human being. Indriyasya Indriyasya Arthe Raga Dvesho Vyavasthitav. This is a statement of fact. Likes and dislikes are due to Prakriti. With reference to any sense object, sound, shabda, touch, sparsha, form or color, rupa, taste, rasa, or smell, gandha. There are likes and dislikes. Everyone has his or her own likes and dislikes, even the devas. Angels also have their own likes and dislikes. And why are these likes and dislikes present? Because of Prakriti, one's own nature. In this, you have no say at all. This is why when you tell someone, I love you, the person asks, why? You can only invent an answer. You do not really know why you love a person. Although one can say it is without reason, there is definitely a reason. So, if you look into your psyche and ask yourself, what is it that makes you like particular person, you will find a reason. This is why everyone has a person to like. In fact, he or she has been looking for that person. So many others came before, but not this one. Then suddenly the person appeared and there was an electrifying experience. All that can be said is that you love someone because of your swabhava, which can be called your subconscious. There is something causing you to love the person. The subconscious is Prakriti, which may be the result of one's own past. If a man has to live his life with certain woman, or if a woman has to live her life with this man, however miserable the person may be, there will be liking for the person, and the Lord alone knows why. Being married to and living with another person is no joke. It is something that is definitely going to change the person's life. Both pain and pleasure will be there, depending upon who the person is and why did you choose this person from among all the other people in the world. You cannot say that the Pizza Hut where you first met was responsible. You have seen many people in the Pizza Hut and nothing happened. If you had met, if you had not met there, you would have met somewhere else. So it is not a particular place that is responsible. This particular meeting took place because of something within yourself. That which connects two people in this way is called karma. Shankara says that karma, prarabdha karma, plays a role. Samskaras of the dharma and adharma, punya and papa, being there in everyone. This is why one person person likes another person. In this life, too, from childhood onwards, one picks up a lot of likes and dislikes unknown to oneself. These are all buried in the person's subconscious, and this sub like submarine will also surface, and it always surfaces at the right time. In the previous verse, Krishna said that everyone acts in accordance with his or her own nature. One expresses one's nature in terms of ragas and dveshas, over which no control is possible. In the present verse, in second line, free will is brought in. Do not come under the spell of these two likes and dislikes. Tayoh uh, vasham na gachet. Tayoh vasham na gachet. Krishna did not say, do not have likes and dislikes. Such a statement would have been meaningless. He was simply saying, may you not come under their spell. The logic of the mind. The mind behaves according to its own logic. It is meaningless to tell someone not to entertain a particular thought. The more the person tries not to have this thought, the more he or she will have it. In fact, it may even become an obsession, a fixation. If you try to avoid anything in the name of avoiding it, it is necessarily right there in your mind. For example, if I tell a man that when he chants a particular mantra, he should not think of a monkey, what will happen? Because he wants to follow my advice, before chanting the mantra, he will remember my advice. Don't think of a monkey. In order to avoid thinking of a monkey, he must think of the very thing that he is to avoid, monkey. And after some time, he will not just see one monkey, he will see all the varieties of monkeys he has seen in his life. If I ask you to think of a monkey, only one monkey will come to mind, one that has previously created an impact on your mind. One person may think of a rhesus, monkeys, monkey, or an Indian monkey. Another may think of chimpanzee or a King Kong. In any event, only one monkey will come to mind. However, if you want to avoid thought of this particular monkey, you would find any number of monkeys coming one by one, starting with your own monkey, followed by rhesus monkey, then the chimpanzee, a gorilla, King Kong, rat monkeys, and variety of African monkeys. They will all come one by one, all because you want to avoid thinking about a monkey. To tell someone not to think of particular object is meaningless. This is where free will comes in. The statement, do not come under their spell, tayo vasham na gachet, implies your will. Problems always arise when we try to avoid the thoughts themselves. Some people spend their lifetime trying to avoid certain thoughts because they are told that some thoughts are good and others are bad. In the process, they remain stuck with the very thought they are trying to avoid. In fact, these thoughts have nothing to do with you, they have only to do with Prakriti.
Can you read this para one more time, Mirina?
Yeah, yeah. To tell someone not to think of a particular object is meaningless. This is where free will comes in. The statement, do not come under their spell, tayo vasham na gachet, implies your will. Does that mean with your free will you overcome, you can choose the thoughts, right? This is what it means.
Yeah.
Implies your will. Problems always arise when we try to avoid the thoughts themselves. Some people spend their lifetime trying to avoid certain thoughts because they are told that some thoughts are good and others are bad. In the process, they remain stuck with the very thought they are trying to avoid. In fact, these thoughts have nothing to do with you, they have only to do with Prakriti. Therefore, what can you do about thoughts? If a commoner happens to see a princess and develops a raga, a desire for her, what is he to do? Because of his status, he cannot even enter the palace, and yet he has a great love for the princess. He can love her all right, but he can hardly proceed on that love. What control do you have over liking a person? None. Nor should you have any control. In fact, you should leave it alone because if you try to control it, you will be in trouble. You will be meddling with your mind, and when you rub against your mind, you rub against nature, and in this process, you get rubbed too. You cannot avoid having certain thoughts. Some of our modern spiritual literature is replete with statements declaring that you should avoid having certain thoughts. There are so many do's and don'ts that a seeker becomes nothing but a pack of nerves. Prior to becoming a seeker, the person was much more acceptable to himself or herself. But after reading so many books, the person finds so much garbage in his or her mind because moksha is beyond all concepts of good and bad and beyond concepts themselves. Cultivating and avoiding good and bad thoughts becomes meaningless. All thought is Prakriti.
Jai Gurudev, can I ask one question in between? Like it's related to these thoughts, like the thoughts which are coming. Uh, Swamiji is talking about the sadhak, like for the karam yogis or for the general beings. This is for karma yogi, right?
I think he's generalizing this. He has not made any statement saying this is only karma yogi, right? See, if you look at the previous shloka, the 33rd shloka, I think it was talking about how prakriti, you cannot do, you're governed by prakriti, and controlling it becomes difficult. So, and then he's saying this is the verse that follows that. So I don't think it is categorizing karma yogis or otherwise.
It starts from the verse 27.
Yeah.
Prakrute kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudatma kartarahami manyate. We think that we are doing it, but it is Prakriti, all the thoughts, how the thoughts comes, we don't know. We just sit, the thoughts come here and go. Therefore, whenever we sit for meditation, we think about the thoughts are coming, going. Whether the thought is good or bad, it is left to us to hold it,
But when
So
you
we
think
just
that the thought is not it's not a good thought and it keeps coming repeatedly, then
but you
you are
have to
meddling
just
with the minds.
no, you have to just
Let's hear her out, Sureshi. What is your question, Savitaji?
I was asking, like Sureshji was talking about the meditation. Like when you sit in meditation, the good and bad thoughts both come. They do come. Like some negative thoughts may be coming, but if you want to meditate, then it's been said that you leave the thoughts. But when they're coming repeatedly, then you start meddling your mind. It's a natural response. I think you start meddling with your mind and your meditation goes away. So
No,
what
that
should
is where if you're talking of any meditation, I don't know. But if you're talking of Sahaj meditation,
any
you have a,
meditation?
yeah, I'm not sure about other meditations, but if you're doing Sahaj meditation, that is why Sahaj is so important.
Yeah.
You have the mantra to help you bring you back to the present. So
Yeah,
if
that
you're
is there.
getting, isn't it? So especially
Okay.
if you're having thoughts of the past or connected thoughts of the future, random
Yes.
thoughts, they may be good or bad, doesn't matter. You give them equal importance. You do not judge them.
The random thought don't trouble. Actually, it's
Random
some
thoughts don't
thought.
trouble.
Yeah.
Exactly. So a repetitive thought itself is not letting you be in the present. It's holding you back, right? So that
Yeah.
is where you take the mantra. So
Mantra.
we have a technique for that. No, so Sahaj meditation that way is very
Yeah,
that is
I
more
knew it, but I just forgot it. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Good,
Yeah.
good, good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Nice. So no thought is bad or no thought is good. You see,
Correct.
that is the first thing we don't accept. We accept that, oh, this thought should not have come. It is negative. I should not think. That you should forget it. Thoughts will come, thoughts will just go. What we hold on to that thought, that is most important. We should not hold to any thoughts. We think that this is good, this is bad. That is what is raga dvesha. You got it? So we should not think that
Thank you.
this is good, this is bad. It is coming, it is prakriti, it is coming. We have to accept that. When we accept that, then only we can cross that. You see?
Yeah, see, if you look at the next paragraph, I think, Mrinal, you've not read it still, no?
No.
That is not, no. Tayorna vasha ma gachet means we should not be under that vasha, under the vasha of the thoughts, whether it is bad thought or good thought. Once you start in that, no, you are tripped. So thoughts are coming, thoughts are going. It is prakriti, we just leave it. That is the way we have to overcome these thoughts.
This line that you will rub against nature, what does this implies? That if you are meddling with your mind and when you rub against your mind, you rub against nature. What does it imply? Like rub against nature?
Can you go back to that para, Mrinal?
It is in this para only.
Just before this, you cannot avoid the last line.
Yeah, I think it's one para before this.
Just one para above this.
Acha. Okay.
You can read that para one more time.
What control do you have over liking a person? None. Nor should you have any control. In fact, you should leave it alone, because if you try to control it, you will be in trouble. You will be meddling with your mind, and when you rub against your mind, you rub against nature. And in this process, you get rubbed too.
Good, very good.
You elaborate it, can you elaborate it?
I think in this example
against-
he had given, he gave the example of a commoner who likes a princess. Right? Mrinal, can you just go up a little?
Yeah.
No,
And
no,
the
here
example?
in this, we should not hold on to a thought.
Is it here? Oh,
No,
we should not
that-
rub on the thoughts. That is what he is telling. Means we are not to hold to any thought.
sit down.
Thoughts are coming, thoughts are going, whether they are bad or whether they are good.
the commoner who discovered his love for a princess just leaves his raga alone if he's an intelligent man. That is, if he's a viveki, one who has discrimination. If he's not a viveki, he will go along with his raga and get beaten up in the process. So, allow the ragas and dveshas to be what they are. The mind is a beautiful instrument as long as you let it think and do not meddle with it. Otherwise, you will be in for problems. So, yeah, I think this is open for discussion about this. See, what the question of free will, here there is a contrast between Prakriti and what free will can do. Here we're only talking about how the raga and dveshas come up in every person is dependent only on his or her Prakriti, and that we have no control over. He says whether you like XYZ or you dislike them, you have absolutely no control of. So let them be, let those thoughts come up, but do not, if he is an intelligent person, he will use his discrimination, and that is where the free will comes in, right? So when you do not control your thoughts, that's what he talks of meddling with your mind, as in trying to control what thought is coming into your mind. That is foolishness. Because it's inevitable. What thought comes up in your mind is inevitable. So rather than focus on that, you focus on what thought you have to act on. Like this commoner, for instance, if he's a Viveki, he will discriminate. He will say, where is my position? What is the princess? What can I just follow my raga and go to the palace and profess my love to her? No, that is foolishness. So if he's a foolish man, he will continue with his dreams of, wanting to acquire the princess. So that is where the free will comes in, I think. That he got the thought of liking the princess, that he liked the princess, that is Prakriti. He has no control over that. So rather than meddling with that thought and trying to control that like thought that came up for him, he should rather focus his energies on the free will, where that will decide what action he will take. I think when we go to the next paragraph, it will be clearer. I'm not sure whether Savitaji, it is.
No, I understood. We will call it free will, or we will call it discriminative power. What? Yeah, or
Viveka.
yeah,
Viveka. You can
Viveka.
say Viveka.
Viveka.
No, because
free
you
will.
see here, because
Yeah.
moksha is beyond all concepts of good and bad. See, we think moksha is only for good or only good thoughts or like that. Moksha is beyond all concepts of good and bad and beyond concept themselves. Cultivating and avoiding good and bad thoughts becomes meaningless. All thought is prakriti. That we don't accept, This is a very good statement.
See, free will need not necessarily be only discriminative. You can use your free will otherwise also. Like in the commoner example, there's a thought that came that is because of Prakriti. There's no control over that like thought. The free will, if he is a discriminative person, he uses his free will to understand and then say, okay, this is it. The like came, let it be. I'm not going to pursue that. But if he's a foolish person, he will use his free will. Again, he's using his free will there to follow up his like, and he will continue to pursue trying to acquire the princess. So the free will can take you either way, to the path of, upliftment if you are discriminative. If you're non-discriminative, if you're aviveki, you're still using your free will there, isn't it?
When we were talking about thoughts coming whilst meditating, in the part 1 course itself we did what you resist persists. And then we had that story of a farmer going to a monk and asking, hey, I want to free my mind. I want to learn how to meditate. And he says, okay, you sit and meditate and chant this mantra, but don't think of a monkey. And all that the farmer could think of was a monkey. When the monk gave him the mantra, he said, yes, I don't have any monkeys in my fields or in my village. But when he sat down to meditate, he only thought, of a monkey. So what you resist persists. Probably what they are trying to say here is that don't resist the thoughts which have come. They have already come. So just let them pass. That is one part of it. And then the second part is your perception. Like if I ask a question now to all of you, which is longer, 1 hour of happiness or 1 hour of sorrow? Mostly people say 1 hour of sorrow is longer. This is our thought process. Our perception is that the 1 hour of sorrow, 1 hour is 1 hour. How can it be longer or shorter? So don't resist whatever thought is coming. From that, like if the thought came that he wanted to marry a princess, okay, I got that thought, then let it pass.
Very good, Parseji. Very nice.
Yeah, it's been said easily, but it's very difficult.
Yeah,
to
very
follow.
tough. That is what his mind is.
See, because the thoughts, what are all the thoughts dependent upon? They're dependent upon the food we eat, our activities, our lifestyle, what we feed into the mind, into what what we watch on television, social media. So there are so many factors that determine what comes up in our mind, isn't it? So this thing of, that's why even Gurudev says so many times, what is that? How to be positive. There are so many books written on how to be positive. He says it is foolishness trying to cultivate having good thoughts. They will come
They will
on
go.
their own if you refine your lifestyle, if you refine the food that you're eating, because it all is again a play of Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva. It's an interplay of these things, isn't it? So the more sattvic your food is, the more sattvic your thoughts are. The more rajasic your food is, the more desires crop up in your mind. And the more tamasic your food is, you will get only thoughts of, thoughts that are aligned to tamas. So that, of course, is again, it's multifactorial, but then we have absolutely no control over the thoughts that arise in our mind. And trying to control that is like meddling with the mind. That is what Swamiji is, I think, talking about there. And thank you, Percy ji, for that perspective.
And be another thing that if you're going on a dharma path, you've chosen your lifestyle that way, so then again it's a feeling.
Your question is not clear, Lovely.
I said if one is taking the dharmic path, all your karmas are particular dharma. So that also we can
Oh, sorry, I think I muted them. I'm not sure who was talking.
Simi.
Yeah, there's a lot of disturbance, Simi, from your side, I think.
Yes, I was just
Can
saying
you
follow the dharma path.
can you type out your question otherwise? Because I'm not sure whether I'm the only one not able to hear clearly.
Yes, no. We are also not hearing.
Maybe
Okay,
you should type out your question in the chat.
Yeah, there is too much of static.
Yeah.
No, I think, Ramraji, we should concentrate on this sentence. Because moksha is beyond all concepts of good and bad, and beyond concepts themselves. Cultivating and avoiding good and bad thoughts becomes meaningless. All thought is prakriti. This sentence, we have to keep it in mind and think that it is prakriti is playing. So we should should not come under its spell. Avoid it. Just thoughts are coming, see it and go. When you see the thoughts, it will vanish. You see, anything when you take aware of it, it just vanishes. Like if I'm getting a thought of angriness, you say, I am now angry, it means immediately that angriness subsides. So that is the way we have been taught also. Just observe it. Just be witness. Just be witness. Just be witness. When you become a witness, you understand which is good, which is bad, and what is you have to do. Viveka will automatic dawn.
Mm.
Jai
You're right.
Gurudev.
So therefore, this sentence is very, very good. Moksha is beyond all concepts of good and bad. We think moksha is only good. No. That is what the first our basic course. The opposite values are this contradictory to each other.
Complementary. Yeah.
Complementary to each other. Sorry. So this is what it is.
Jai Gurudev, it's also, Gurudev says in advanced courses and all that, when the thought comes, become totally aware and breathe it out. That when you breathe it out, it goes off. Again, it comes, maybe a couple of times it will come. Once you breathe it out, it will never come again.
That is what the witness. So good. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's been explained very beautifully. Thank you so much.
Yeah, when before the thought comes, we don't even know when the thought comes. So to avoid getting certain kind of thoughts, maybe we can use our viveka, and with free will we can avoid the environment. I mean, we can choose our environment, we can choose our food, because we are born with some kind of prakriti. We might get certain kind of thoughts. Remember the story where the sadhu goes to king's house to eat food. He's there every day, but one fine day he picks up the silver bowl and goes, but next day he returns, because that day he eats the food which has been confiscated by um, uh, king's people from robbers, and that food is given to him, and that thought he gets the thought of stealing that bowl. But next day when that thought goes off, he brings the bowl back. So food makes a lot of difference, and the environment. So we can, that way we can have a little bit of control on what we think.
And also satsanga. You see. Therefore, satsang is needed every day. Our thoughts become clear.
Should I read?
Yes, continue, Janal.
And how is your will involved here? Will is not determine. Will is not to determine what you should and should not think, but how far you should go with the thoughts that arise. Your activities are not caused by the likes and dislikes appearing in your mind, but by your identification with them. Because you are identified with your raga dveshas, you go along with them, you being the will. The commoner who discovered a love for the princess just leaves his raga alone. If he is an intelligent man, that is, if he is viveki, one who has discrimination. If he is not a viveki, he will go along with his raga and get beaten up in the process. Therefore, allow the raga dveshas to be what they are. The mind is a beautiful instrument as long as you let it think and do not meddle with it. Otherwise, you will be in for problems. It takes very little time to become insane. What is being said here is, while you can go by your likes and dislikes, you should make use of your free will to do what is right and avoid doing what is wrong. This is Karma Yoga. Do not come under the spell of your raga dveshas, because if you do, they become enemies for you. The raga dveshas themselves do not form the enemies. It is your coming under their spell that turns them into your foes. When you are under the spell of your raga dvesha, you do not do what is to be done, and you do what is not to be done. In this way, raga dveshas become obstacles for you. That means that likes and dislikes are those into whose hands you deliver yourself. It is these raga dveshas that become your obstacles. Such likes dislikes become binding and therefore enemies because they rob away your reason. They are likened to thieves and become your enemies. Tauhi asya paripanthinam. Therefore, without worrying about what happens in the mind, simply go by what is to be done and not to be done.
Here, I just wanted to add something else. When Karma Yoga is asking, is doing what is to be done, right? So that the previous shloka which says Nirashir Aparigraha and Vigata Jwaraha, that where we talked about not having expectations. So when you're doing what is to be done, then you're not really bent on a particular result, isn't it? You're just doing what is to be done. You're so in the moment. So karma yoga is actually living in the moment, every moment. You're not in expectation of any you know, future result. I'm just mending what I'd said last time, because I was thinking about that the whole of yesterday. When Gurudev says we used to open our happiness programs with, the first thing is expectations reduces joy. So although any action is prompted by a desire to do, desire is different, but expectation is different. So here you do a particular job with a desire to get a particular result, yes, but then you don't expect. You just do what is to be done, and then whatever the result is, it may be equal to what you had expected, it may be more than what you expected or less than what you expect. Whatever the result is, you're again in acceptance of that. So that is the karma yoga aspect. So that way, yes, nirashi is to drop your expectations. I think that is how it translates to. Because I was talking to Nana about that yesterday, and he said in Shankara's Bhashya, he had said even a foolish man does not start doing anything without a desire for the end. So desire is of course there, it's ingrained. But how you go about taking the end result or the consequence, that is all that matters.
See how nicely Gurudev has involved all these points in such a small, wonderful. So many times I have thought of it, and we are lucky to have such Guruji to give us such a beautiful knowledge in such a short time, and wonderful, really wonderful. I have no words to thank.
Yeah, very true.
All such points, see how nicely every step, if you analyze these all, every step of the Bhagavad Gita has been included into this Sudarshan Kriya, I feel it. And practical. See, we are now talking so much, but we have done already that, we are already in that. We are just understanding the concepts now. That is what it is. So good.
This means that likes and dislikes are those into whose hands you deliver yourself. It is these rag dveshas that become your obstacles. Such likes and dislikes become binding and therefore enemies because they rob away your reason. They are likened to thieves and become your enemies. Tavhi asya paripanthinam. Therefore, without worrying about what happened in the mind. Simply go by what is to be done and not to be done. Further, Krishna said, Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat swanushthita swadharme nidhanam shreyah paradharmo bhayavah su anu su anushthittat paradharmat as compared to the well-performed dharma of another. Vigunaha, imperfect. Swadharmaha, one's own dharma. Shreyan, better. Swadharme, in one's own dharma. Nidhanam, death. Shreyaha is better. Paradharmaha, the dharma of another. Bhayavaha is fraught with fear. Better is one's own imperfectly performed dharma than the well performed dharma of another. Death in one's own dharma is better. The dharma of another is fraught with fear. We have seen that with reference to sense objects, forms, sounds, smell, taste, etc., certain objects are looked upon as desirable while others are not. These likes and dislikes arise in your mind in the form of various types of wants for which you are not responsible. It is here that the Shastra comes in. Wherever there is a doership and enjoyership centered on free will, wherever free will has access, the Shastra has its sphere of influence. The Shastra deals with dharma and adharma, right and wrong, satya and mithya, the real and the unreal. All these are dependent on viveka, vichara, discriminative inquiry, for the person who is free. Therefore, the Shastra is not deemed to be useless simply because the previous verse declared that each person behaves according to his or her own nature, which cannot be controlled. This Prakriti, one's nature, is only with reference to the appearance of raga dveshas in the form of various thoughts arising in your mind. It is true that your swabhava, your nature, is responsible for appearance of these raga dveshas. But whether you go along with them depends entirely upon you. There are always certain governing factors for any course of action. What is proper, what is useful to you, what is feasible. All determine which raga, which like you choose to follow or fulfill. Certain norms of pragmatism and ethics, dharma and adharma, also have to be taken into account. An ethical person need not necessarily be a karma yogi. If there is an awareness of Ishvara in your choice of action, it is karma yoga. Until then, it is simply the choice of mature person. A mature person is one who has ethics, for which one need not have religion. Bertrand Russell, for example, wrote a book called Why I Am Not a Christian. He never claimed to have any religious learning, and even wrote in so many words that he had nothing to do with such matters. At the same time, this man was a clean person and the first to raise his voice against the proliferation of nuclear weapons. He was a man of great ethics without having any religion. Any thinking person understands ethics. Everyone knows what others should and should not do to him or her. Everyone also knows that others expect the same in written. Thus, ethics are born of common sense, not of religion, and can be understood more clearly and assimilated if the person has a certain degree of maturity. One's own experiences in life and understanding are enough to understand what is proper and improper. Thus, no one needs religious scriptures or mandates in order to be an ethical person. However, the religious scriptures of the world add something to ethical values. They say that if you perform an improper action, you cannot get away with it. You will have to pay for it later. This is where the concept of punya and papa, merit, demerit, come in. According to karma performed, there is a certain result that comes to you. It is like a ticket you get from parking violation, which is not going to be as severe as the ticket from speeding offense. Similarly, according to karma performed, there is a result called drishtafala, adrishtafala, punya and papa. That there is such a result as adrishtafala is additional information gleaned from the scriptures. But for merely understanding what is ethical and unethical, religion is not required. Thus, a person can be ethical without being a karma yogi. He or she becomes karma yogi only when there is an appreciation on the part of the person that Ishvara is the giver of the results of action, karma phaladata. A karma yogi is a bhakta, a devotee, one who does not look upon one's possessions as one's own. For such a person, a physical body is given, a mind is given, the world is given, opportunities are given, resources are given, skills are given, time is given, place is given, everything is given. Only when one appreciates the given and also the giver behind the given is there karma yoga. Ethically, therefore, one can be clean, but this in itself is not karma yoga, all of which has been pointed out. If what is to be done by you at this time and place and what you want to do happen to conquer, then your action is spontaneous and not thinking is required. Also, when what is not to be done is something that you do not want to do, avoidance or withdrawal from such an action is spontaneous. Even if someone asks you to do it, your no is spontaneous because you do not have any such inclination and also the action is not to be done. Spontaneous action. Thus, with reference to certain ragas and dveshas, there is a spontaneity because you are in harmony with dharma. You do not rub against anything. The laws are not being rubbed against. In fact, you are in harmony with whole setup. But if your raga dveshas do not conform to right and wrong, dharma and adharma, there is a rub. This is why Lord Krishna also said here, death in your own dharma is better. The dharma of another is fraught with fear. Swadharme nidhanam shreyaha paradharmo bhayavaha. The choice you have is only with reference to what you are going to do. You have no choice whatsoever about what happens in your head. Thoughts just happen and you have no control over them. But whether you go along with them or not is definitely subject to choice. Swadharma means what is to be done by yourself. one's own dharma. Dharma meaning karma here. In a society where the duties are very well spelled out, each person knows exactly what is expected of him or her. In the Vedic culture, for example, each of the four groups of people, Varnas, had certain duties which were very clearly defined. For a person of a given Varna who is a student, there are certain duties. Then, as a householder or a married person, he or she has a different set of duties. So too for a Vanaprastha, one who one who is preparing for a life of renunciation. Although such clearly defined systems no longer operate in the world, one thing is clear: in any given situation, there is a certain response required on your part in terms of action, and this becomes your duty. Duty is not something that you have to be told about by someone, really speaking. It becomes evident as you look at the situation that you are in and understand it as it is. In this way, what is to be done becomes obvious to you. If you do not understand the situation you find yourself in, you can always seek the help of someone in order to understand what your duty is in terms of what should and what should not be done. Someone who is more informed, who has more experience, or who is more capable and placed in such a way that he is able to spell out your duties can do this for you. The concept of Swadharma needs to be seen also in the spirit of this verse. In terms of one's own karma, Swadharma, what is to be done, even if one is destroyed in the process. Doing one's own karma is far better than doing the karma of another person, meaning that it is useless to want to do what someone else is doing. Do only what you have to do. Suppose the goalkeeper in the soccer game decides to run like other players do, because the ball never seems to come to him anyway. It would be a disaster. In other words, if he decides to do the job of other players, even though it is his job to stand between the posts, it would not work. What is being said here is that if standing between the posts is your job, you had better do it. You had better do it. If the ball does not come to you, it means the other team is not scoring the goals. And if it comes too often, you can enjoy the action. It is not as though you are always going to be just standing there. Sometimes there will be some actions to perform. Just because the other players run does not mean that you should run. Similarly, the job of a bolt in the piece of machinery is to sit tight. But suppose the bolt is teased by the piston that says, "Why aren't you doing any action? I am the only one doing anything here. All you are doing is sitting there tightly. Why don't you do something?" Hearing this once or twice, the bolt may simply say, "This fellow is just blabbering. My job is to sit tight." That's how my maker, the manufacturer, made me. Therefore, let me ignore what the piston is saying. But eventually, the bolt may think, "Why should I not also move? I think the piston is actually making some sense. After all, I do sit tightly all the time while he keeps going. Should I not also do something? Then he may become my friend. I am also a part of of the machinery. Why shouldn't I do anything?" Having decided this, the bolt has to struggle to move because it has been sitting so tightly for a long time. It tries to move one way and cannot. Then it tries to move other way and begins to shift. Happily, it says, I am also doing now. 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 Whereupon the bolt falls to the ground before any time before any time at all. The piston also falls out and the entire mechanism comes to standstill, all because of the bolt, all because of one bolt wanting to do someone else's job. Can any job be said to be really better than another? Which is better for the bolt, sitting tightly or moving? Jobs differ. One fellow's job is to sit tightly, another's job is to move. One is not to do the job of the other person in the overall scheme of the things. Because someone is working hard on the construction site does not mean that someone else has to do the same. Working hard is not the issue. What is to be understood is that there are different types of work. Sitting tight is also difficult work because even though there is a tendency to move, you should not move if, for example, you are an orderly in an intensive care unit. Similarly, each one has his or her own duty to perform in a given situation, and that duty is only to be done by the person whose duty it is. It is better to die guarding your post than to do something else just because it is more convenient, more remunerative, and more likable, and so on. This does not work at all. You see this problem everywhere in today's society. If you have monetary satisfaction, you may not have job satisfaction. And if you have job satisfaction, you may not have monetary satisfaction. You may love your job, but you cannot own even a small house. Paying rent is also a problem, so that you find yourself still living in a one-room apartment. If you have job satisfaction, but such satisfaction does not produce the money you need, what kind of job satisfaction is this? A man who is in this situation usually becomes more practical when he marries. He gives up the job he loves and takes another. In terms of money, it is a better job, but now he's sitting in front of computer all day long. The additional money providing him with no job satisfaction whatsoever. Are we stopping here for Manana or should I read some more?
I think you can read the Swadharma and satisfaction because that will complete the whole
Okay.
concept and then we can do.
Okay. Swadharma and satisfaction. When we see someone else doing something that seems to be making the person happy, we want to do it too. But Swadharma does not work that way. In any given situation, in any given position, whatever is to be done by you, whatever that is appropriate for you, that alone is your karma, your dharma. This does not mean that you should not switch jobs. Both money and job satisfaction are important, but a number of other factors must be taken into account. If you are an artist, try to make money with your art. Produce something that will make money, something that is good. In this way, you will have job satisfaction and money also. This is the intelligent way to live. Otherwise, you will have neither money nor satisfaction. What kind of job is it, after all, that does not produce money? How can there be any real satisfaction in such a job? Your art will definitely be affected because being without the essentials of life that money provides, you will often be disgruntled. Your paintings will be angry paintings. The colors themselves will reflect your inner life. Of course, there are people who will like such paintings because they too are angry. So you may even sell some of them. In the verse under discussion, Karna also said that the duty of another is
Krishna.
definitely fraught. Sorry,
Krishna also said.
what did I say? Sorry.
By mistake, read Karna.
Oh, okay. Sorry. In the verse under discussion, Krishna also said that the duty of another is definitely fraught with fear. Bhayavantaha, when you take it as your own. This being the case, it is better to do one's own duty, to do whatever is proper and appropriate, even if it amounts to death, than to do someone else's duty. In this way, you will have the satisfaction of knowing that, at least until your death, you did what you had to do.
Can you read
Also,
this para
yeah,
one more
yeah, yeah.
time?
Even I was really not reading this. I was just thinking, why did I say Karna? In the verse under discussion, Krishna also said that the duty of another is definitely fraught with fear. Bhayavaha, when you take it as your own. Okay. In the verse under discussion, Krishna also said that the duty of another is definitely fraught with fear. Bhayavaha, when you take it as your own. This being the case, it is better to do one's own duty, to do whatever is proper and appropriate, even if it amounts to death, than to do someone else's duty. In this way, you will have the satisfaction of knowing that, at least until your death, you did what you had to do. Also, if you neglect your own duty and do something else, you will be dying every day of your lifetime. You will have nothing but conflict, regret, guilt of omission, and commission. What was to be done was omitted. What was not to be done was committed, all of which is a living death. While you are living, you go on dying.
So wonderfully sentenced. So wonderful. What was to be done was omitted, and what was to be not to be done is committed. Really very good.
Should I read this?
Is there a lot more apart from this?
4.
Oh, it might be long. So we'll do it tomorrow.
4 or 5 paras of this length.
Can
Yeah.
do it.
I think you do exercise your choice and maybe then we'll do manana. No?
Okay. Exercise your choice. Even though you have raga dveshas that have no connection with your dharma, you still have a choice. You can choose not to go along with your raga dveshas. You need not have anything to do with them. The only connection there need to be is that they happen in your mind. You need only recognize them, nothing more. You can even be so amused by them that you will not need to read another thriller. Reading your own mind will be enough. Your mind can provide you with pages and pages of entertainment by your simply witnessing what is going on. But in terms of choice, in action, you go with what you want in accordance with the norms of Dharma. One Swadharma may not be as productive, as convenient, or as pleasant as one might want. Duties are certainly not always pleasant. They can be unpleasant also, nor may they be remunerative or convenient. But you have to do only that which is your Swadharma. Even though it may be viguna, devoid of any inciting, pleasing, fascinating, or satisfactory features, your own duty is definitely better for you to perform than dharma of others. Because dharma of others is not your dharma. It is not to be done by you. Thus, each person has certain things to do, and these are what he or she must do. One need not do what others do. The one common factor between dharma and adharma, others' dharma, is that each of you do. The action to be done differ, situations differ, expectations differ, but each of you do what is to be done by you alone. In this way, you find your karma becomes a yajna. If you can appreciate the phenomenal forces in your life as so many devatas, as aspects and features of Ishvara, and not just dumb forces, you give them the status of deities or God. For instance, Surya, the sun, is not just an implosion that is taking place. It can be explained this way scientifically, but it is actually a blessing. That this implosion takes place there and not here is definitely a blessing. It is also a blessing that the sun rises in the morning. As a part of whole Jagat, as the center of the entire system, the sun is blessing. It is blessing in every way. Just as the sun is a blessing, so too the air, water, earth, every plant, insect, and so on. The elements are all forces that can be looked upon as devatas. By recognizing them as such, you need not tell yourself that you should work for the welfare of people. It will be spontaneous because by recognizing these forces that are working for you, you will automatically recognize fellow beings and living creatures. With this sensitivity, you will not need to be told to be kind to people, to be appreciative of their needs, to do to do unto others what you would have them to do unto you. By being able to include the devatas, all others are naturally included. The books that talk about conduct and the values, the Dharma Shastra recognizes this fact. If, for example, you cut a tree for any purpose, the Dharma Shastra says that you should plant and care for 10 more trees. This is to ensure that at least one of the 10 will survive. I'm told American Forestry Department follow this rule now. Should we stop here?
Yeah, I think we can discuss what all we've done. It's an important few verses that we've covered today.
Very good. These two verses are really basis for the other verses to follow. Yajna is here, Swadharma is here. What is Sadharma is what is karma, and what is karma yoga. It is very, very well defined here. He says ethics are not karma yogis. There can be anything. I don't follow any religion, but I follow what is good for people and this, I don't do it. Then they are not karma yogis. We have to accept what we have been given. Like sunlight is given, air is given, water is given, this. So we will be taking them as devatas, and we are thanking and we are grateful. Then we will be grateful to everything what is happening to us. Therefore, that kindness to the people, that it encompasses this. If you have that devata gratefulness to devatas, it will come automatically to others also. So beautifully explained. This is what is karma yoga, I feel. Wonderful.
The first shloka that we did today, Indriyasyendriyasyardhe Ragadvesha Vyavastitau Tayor Navashama Gache Tau Tasya Paripantinau. So that it talks of how it is the culprit there is not the senses or the sense object. It is the mind behind which, because based on the prakriti that you have ragadveshas, the culprit is actually ragadveshas, and that is completely dependent on your prakriti. You have no say about what raga crops up in your mind or what dvesha crops up in your mind. That is all because of your nature. But how you use it, how to choose to act on whatever is coming up in your mind, that is the free will. So what thought you choose to act upon, that is where the aspect of free will comes in. And it is pointless to try and avoid thoughts coming. Like whatever you resist will persist. You say, I don't want to get this bad thought about this person. No, it will not work that way. You just will not help, but will keep those thoughts keep coming back. So the better thing is to step aside and watch how it's happening. And that is what he says in some part. I think he says it is better than any thriller. If you keep looking at how these thoughts surface up in your mind, it is constant entertainment. It's 24/7 entertainment. But the problem is we identify ourselves with the ragadveshas. That is where the problem comes. We think we are our likes and dislikes. So we think if we do not do what we like doing, we will be upset. And if we do not avoid what we don't like, we will also be upset. So as long as your ragadveshas are in line with dharma, with what you have to do, then you are following a swadharma. Then there is beauty, there is harmony. So you will end up doing what you have to do, and you will avoid what has to be avoided. Then there is no question at all. There is no conflict at all. But more often than not in life, we are faced with situations where we have to do what we don't really like. For instance, a student may, he has, I think we've discussed this example before. He has his studies to do, which is what he has to do. But although this is what he has to do, what he likes doing is maybe watching the cricket match. So there is a conflict there. So what he chooses to do there again is number one is based on his free will. So if he is using his free will correctly, he will do what is to be done. Then he is doing his swadharma. Paradharma is watching that cricket match. That becomes a paradharma. And it is bhayavaha because it will end up, although the paradharma seems very enticing, it's something convenient for you to do, it will only end up in more problems for you. So identifying what our swadharma is based on the given time and situation, what is the role you have to play, and doing it well. And that is why he says, even though dying doing your own swadharma is better than doing someone else's duty. A very important shloka, important for us to understand.
As far as this thoughts are concerned, during the pandemic, the environment had a hold over us, and people were working from home. That itself was something that needed adjustment in life, to work from home. Some were on half salary, some were on 1/3 salary. Some people were laid off. And people buy things like houses, bikes, cars against bank loans. Now they had to be paid off. So the thought process was definitely affected by the pandemic. And then how to get out of that? I mean, you are overwhelmed by such thoughts. Also the loss of your near and dear friends. So what I found was that at such times, Gurudev carried out 2 meditations per day, one at 12:30 and another at 7. And that was ideal. Like you just sit away from whatever is your routine for that half an hour, and it calms down the mind. You cannot stop these overwhelming thoughts, especially during a pandemic. But your mind cools down with this kind of meditations, guided meditations which are done. I found at that time that even the Sahaj mantra which I would take, in between two Sahaj mantras, I would be flooded with thoughts. But when you sit down and do a guided meditation with Gurudev, the voice itself is very soothing. I don't know, it has some kind of an effect on you where it just calms you down, his voice itself. And secondly, whatever he guides you, tells you to do, you do that. And then it just works for you. Your thought process is ideally onto what he's telling you to do during the meditation, the direction that he's giving, the instruction that he's giving during meditation. And that calms you down. And I think 20 minutes every day of that work in calming down my thought process. Even sleepless nights over the loss of near and dear ones, I used to do Yog Nidra once in Hindi, once in English, like that, 2-3 times in the night. And okay, wait for the morning to come, not getting disturbed, but staying with the Yog Nidra. And then I would just do some hollow and empty meditation or something. The Gurudev's voice is soothing, and I think the direction they give calms the mind. There you go.
Beautiful, really.
I can't agree better with you, Percy ji.
Yeah.
Uh,
But this Swadharma and this one, no? Many people think that dharma is religion, in this Swadharma. And they interpret very, very wrongly. You see, here the dharma is not at all a religion. It is your prakriti. That many people interpret very, very wrong. And many things have happened because of that, But this really explanation by Swamiji here, wonderful. Especially the example of that goalkeeper and the bolt and nut. Such a wonderfully explained what is sadharma and what is to be done has to be done at that time. And especially, as you said about the students, Brahmaraji, that example also. Because many times children will think, I am still doing, my papa is resting there. He just do for 8 hours. I have to work for so many things. And he thinks that papa's work is very good, easy, That way, they will not concentrate on the studies. So these are all raga dveshas and swadharma and dharma, wonderfully explained by Swamiji here. Nice. Good.
Brahmaraji, can you please, I know this, we have done this innumerable times, about dharma.
yeah, what about that?
Yeah, can we define dharma, swadharma? Is it the aptitude, skills, or liking I have, and accordingly I choose to, as a profession, I can choose doing that. That becomes my swadharma, or the position, or maybe we can use and the role you are playing, depending on situation, time you are in. All of this is your swadharma, right?
Yeah. See, dharma is universal. No? It's common sense. Dharma is common sense. You do unto others what you would want them to do to you. You don't want to be robbed, so therefore you don't rob others. You don't want to be hurt by others or humiliated by others, so you don't humiliate others. That is dharma. Whereas swadharma has an overlay of your mm, your past karma, your samskaras that you're born with. So that uh, that has a saying on your likes, on your passions. Not everybody becomes an artist. Not everybody becomes an engineer. Not becomes a doctor, isn't it? So everybody has certain should I say inclinations which are innate, and these can be picked up from when they're very young. You would notice there will be kids like um, who take to, say, for instance, mathematics very easily, and there are others for whom mathematics is very difficult. So from the very beginning, you can see that they're kind of choosing they're chiseling out their own path. So it will be very painful for a person, for a child who's not very good with mathematics, who does not like mathematics, where the parents will force them to say join a scheme like the accounts or engineering or something where a lot of maths is required. So when it is best to allow this child to grow and choose and develop into whatever branch he or she would be passionate about, and make that passion your profession and make money out of it. So that is what Swamiji has described in the previous examples that he had given. Just because something else is more remunerative, something is more someone else is doing something that you also want to shift, that is fraught with a lot of um, fear, a lot of so death. The whole verse says that death in your own swadharma is better than um, performing the duty of another very well.
Now, there was an example where a person had to leave the job which he used to enjoy, but when he got married to earn more money, he took up another job which he didn't like.
Correct.
So, was he doing his swadharma
He was,
or?
of course, not doing his swadharma. He's not doing. That is why he's having to now sit in front of the computer. He has lost his job satisfaction. So earlier, whatever he was earning, whatever he was doing, he was passionate about. So in that field itself, you see how you can optimize your earning money so that you can earn a livelihood rather than switching jobs. See, again, Swamiji makes a clear distinction saying switching jobs is not an issue. Can you just go back to that paragraph where he talks of switching jobs? As long as you are, I think somewhere here,
many times no we what we do because it is more lucrative or somebody else is doing, so I want to do this. Rajeshri Patel Didi came to Mumbai just 4-5 days back. She shared very beautifully that initially Gurudev asked her to sing and she was pushing herself to say Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, and then somebody else spontaneously came up and started singing so with the bhakti and all. It was so beautiful. And then suddenly Rajeshri Didi went to Gurudev and said to me, do something so that I can sing like that person. Do some miracle on me. Like she was very much like very initial days of, she didn't know how to be with a guru and what is the guru and all. She thought that the moment Gurudev does some miracle and I will start singing like that person. Then very beautifully Gurudev said, ki, uh, don't do something because others are doing it. And Gurudev, and she didn't understand the meaning of it. And then she was explaining it here in Bombay, addressing to a very, very large crowd. That itself, I will send that link to you all on Instagram or Facebook. It is that Swadharma ka, whatever we are talking, very beautifully she has put it up the way Gurudev opened up the things for her. That Swadharma thing. Most of the time, what we are doing, I want to be like this, I want to be like that. Because he or she is doing this thing so beautifully, so I want to strive for that. So somewhere you are really totally ignoring your own self, your own tendencies, your own skills, your own dharma, and compromising on it, just want to copy. That is beautifully she has explained. I am not that much capable of exactly explaining what she said. But there, the Swadharmaka thing will become very clearer to you. Very beautifully, Rajeshri Didi and Gurudev's dialogues, very initial days in late 80s and early 90s. And the other thing I wanted to share here, like Swadharma is from very childhood. Uh, my parents never pushed me into studies or anything. If I sat on my own and I did something, well and good. Otherwise, they never said, "Ki complete your homework or do this, do that." And on my own, I used to read the next chapters, especially for mathematics. And I used to do on my own. Pad ke, I used to read, and on my own, I used to solve the things. 3-4 chapters beforehand, before it came into the class. That showed so clearly that I had a very beautiful tendency of doing the mathematics and algebra. And when the class teacher used to go out of the class, the other students used to sit next to me and wo kya bole pura wapas explain karke bata the teacher. They wanted me to repeat the everything, and that molded so beautifully. That time, not many people used to go for engineering. I used to open up transistor and mixer and this and that thing and how it works from inside and all. So it was very clear that I had that inclination of engineering. But that time it was not very favorable, but still I had very good marks and I could, on my merits, I could do the engineering field. So now it makes a sense that how I unknowingly followed the Swadharma and my parents supported it. Even while choosing the life partner, I was very clear with my parents that I don't want a doctor or lawyer or CA or anybody, architect or anybody. I want somebody who has this inclination of technical aspect very strong. So see how automatically the things are falling with that in line with Swadharma. Jai Gurudev.
Nicely explained. Mrinalji? Who was that? Mrinalji.
No,
Madhuri
that was
ji.
Madhuri.
Madhuri. Oh, so good. Nice.
Just a quick one. When I said to support his family, he left his job, which gave him satisfaction. But was it not his duty to support his family? Was it not his dharma, swadharma, to support his family?
Can I just add something here?
Yeah, go ahead, Prem.
Yeah. So here, I wanted to say something about what Madhuriji said, but now I'll start with Mrinalji. Yeah. See, Mrinalji, the person who is earning and supporting the family is like the engine or carburetor or like the heart of a car. Agree?
Yeah.
So when the particular heart or engine keeps itself in proper fit condition, only then it can really make the car move properly, either fast or slow. in its own speed and efficiency for which it was manufactured. In the same way, the person who was utterly unhappy for changing a job, but for a little more money, I don't know, it could be little more or too much more, whatever it is, at some point of time, it is bound to pull him down. That probably few chips may be more for the material wants, but what happens is ultimately his physical or mental status will be compromised. His relationship with the family members, the more coziness or the number of smiles and laughs in the family probably will be cut down. I'm just talking in a hypothetical way. All these things will happen, and we have seen there are people in my job, people who were working as part of my team. They left and they went to places like I'm not reflecting on any place, but they went to places like Dubai. Some went to Qatar. But what happened? After a couple of months or 3 months, somehow they said, "Nahi, sir, I want to come back to Bahrain, come back to Bahrain." Some could, some could not. I'm just saying, here I'm not saying Swadharma, or here you can call it as a Swasthala. And this is what I want to say about the example, what you said, Mrinalji. And Madhuriji, what she said, there it is a picture perfect example of a Swadharma. So without that engineering and that mathematic, that instinct that was inborn in you, Madhuriji, without that, you are not what you are. Am I right?
Yes, yes, yes. And that is now I can understand that it fell perfectly. Luckily, my parents supported.
Exactly. So it fell. So it was fitting like a round cork in a round hole. Perfect. Am I right?
Correct. So no frustration.
So what Mrinalji's example was like, it was like a round cork in a square hole or a square hole in a round cork. Both will have leakages. Not that it will not fit. It will stop the flow of water to some extent, but there will always be leakages from the gaps. And I think I heard Swami Chinmayananda saying about Swadharma, actual Swadharma. When you have, suppose there is sugar, I think we spoke about it before. Sugar, what makes it to be called sugar? Because of its sweetness, that kind of it, that taste. The moment you put it on your tongue, you say, "Ha, this is sugar." Similarly, I give you something white powder to put it on your tongue, saying, "This is sugar." The moment you put it, you say, "Nah, this is salt." Why? Sugar is sugar because of that particular quality, without which it is not sugar. If it is bitter, if it looks like sugar crystals, and the moment you put it on the tongue, then it is bitter. Will you call it, this looks like sugar crystals, so this is sugar? No. They'll say, this imitates like sugar, but it is not. It is something else. Kyunki ye kadwa hai. Similarly, salt powder, if I tell you this is sugar powder, the moment you say, no, this looks like, but this is salt powder, not sugar. So that particular quality without which a thing cannot be what it is supposed to be, that quality is the Swadharma. Without that, it is not what, you cannot call it as what it should be called as. That is a Swadharma. And every one of us has something, some one particular, like Madhuriji had it, it's very clearly evident and prominent, and it worked. Like every one of us has the original swing inside. If we are able to find that original swing and Some of us are lucky to follow that original swing. You give it any name. You give it the passion. You give it, you call it instinct. You call it my genetic skills, whatever you call it. That is the original swing. If you are able to identify the original swing and stick to it, like there is a saying that if your passion becomes your profession, you need not work even a single day, because you will never be tired doing what is your passion. If it becomes your profession, it's like, it's like you are doing your hobby only, but it also gives you livelihood. That some people are lucky to have that. This is Swadharma. A lion stops roaring and stops hunting. You don't call it a lion anymore. Gone. This is what I thought. Yeah, actually, this is a subject which we can discuss very long. But I
Thanks
thought
for
this
that
is.
insight, Prem. Thanks. But what Mrinal's question here was, if a person is following his swadharma and is not getting enough money to support his family, and he changes, is it not his duty to support his family? Is it not his duty to earn enough money?
So that is what I am saying. That is not I am saying. He may choose to shift from the innate to them. Like tomorrow, Madhuriji might become an accountant by liking or not liking. If they are giving some a few thousands more, okay, it's up to you. It's your choice. But he's only talking about Swamiji Shreyaha. Swadharme nidhanam shreyaha paradharme bhayavaha. Okay. You still want to do, again, it's crossroads, your choice. Yesterday or day before, we were talking about crossroads, choices. You will have to face it. A round hole in square, round cork in square hole, square in round. There will always be leakages. What kind of leakages? Could be peace of mind, could be relations, could be health, could be whatever. That is what I mean. Should not. He did not say you should not, right? In the shloka, he only said it is a prayer.
Right. Can you just move this up? There was one paragraph where he spoke of job change, no?
Yeah, this is a very good that we are discussing this, because Swadharma, and nowadays the demand, like the disparity between a young boy or young girl getting, if she or he is in IT sector and doing something else, the disparity is so much that the youngsters are pushed unnecessarily towards choosing IT. Because the pay scale difference is too much. That's what I feel. Because just now I can see that my niece, sorry, my niece is very much into the languages from childhood, and she is expert in Japanese language, and she is working for TCS. But the kind of payment, that is her innate dharma, innate skill. She is very happy with that. But then the pay scales are so low for languages and all, and she is getting very frustrated in spite of giving her best. So exactly, Premji, what he is saying, you need to switch on the job, or you need to do something supportive to your skills, swadharma, so that your money flow increases. Jai Gurudev.
Or at least keep during spare time, polish that skill also, and do something in that skill that satisfies the original actual thirst that is inside. At least that you can do to balance out things.
What about the raga?
Many person do that, Many people are in IT and they follow music also. You see?
Yeah, that is what happens is there. The passion remains as like a part-time hobby.
Hobby.
What I was saying before. If the passion actually becomes your profession, think about it. How would it look? That is what I said. Then you are not working even a single day. You are working but you don't feel like you are working even on a single day. That's what
No,
I say.
you will work spontaneously. That is what, when your raga dvesha matches with your swadharma, you work spontaneously. So good.
So can we say even the raga, if it is with the dharma, then that is your swadharma?
What is it?
How it
Raga
is
means you are
different?
talking about
Raga and
singing
dvesha,
raga?
between raga and dvesha, is that again your swadharma? If it, can you follow that? Whatever your, is that passion or inclination? Can you
No,
say
give me an
that?
example. Give me an example of what you are saying.
Like if I like something strongly, is that my aptitude skill, or is it is different?
Yeah, you like something, and that is not, again, that liking something is, that is not against the social order, but which also satisfies you. And in general, it does something. The final product is good, not just for you, but also for the society at large. Is yes. What I mean to say is, I like driving at 120 speed on a city road. I'm just giving a wild example. That is my passion. No, I have to search for a Formula One circuit nearby, take their permission and do it. But what I like, that is why I asked you to give an example. Suppose, for example, you like, I know about you, Mrinalji, you like cooking, you like gardening. That's like one of your innate qualities. When you like that, and suddenly if someone says, no, for that we'll put some other people, you take this accounts book and just you concentrate more on this accountancy and all this, suddenly you will feel out of place, right?
Yeah, but then if that is the need of that hour, am I not
Uh,
supposed to do that?
that
And
is
would that not be my dharma? My
yeah,
dharma may not be
that, that,
swadharma, but
that
it is my duty, right? So how it is
yeah,
different, my duty and swadharma?
that is the choice you need to make, depending on the baggage you carry. The baggage is like, the baggage what I'm referring to is, if the family needs you to do only that to feed them, you may do it, but again, the square and round formula applies there. It's your choice. You may choose not to, you may choose to, or kartum sekyam, akartum sekyam. Kartum sekyam means can do, akartum sekyam cannot do, means need not do, decide not to do. Anyathava kartum sekyam, I will do it differently. If I am very good in one particular thing, I will see, without changing the dharma, in my swadharma, can I make enough money to support my family? These are the three. And what is the outcome of that? Depending on that, I make a choice. But making a choice which is away from your swadharma is not just a choice, it's a choice combined with the compromise. This is what we have to realize. We don't need to regret.
With fear,
We don't need
it
to
is
regret.
there.
So in such cases, I am doing somebody else's dharma, right? I mean, not doing somebody else's work. I'm doing. So which is not good. So this is what is being said here, right?
Therefore, we teach
Yeah,
in basic course.
that always gives you an innate feeling that this is actually not my cup of tea, but I'm doing. For the rest of your life, will you not have it? Today, tomorrow, suddenly, if we ask an engineer or a mechanical engineer, suddenly to say, "Nahi yaar, this profession is not there anymore, available. You do something else." And suddenly he'll be out of place. He might learn it. He might learn with a lot of difficulty that particular new skill because he needs the rosy roti, because his particular skill has no acceptance, for example, in that vicinity. Then what will he do? He will, because particularly this particular kind of a situations are in the human beings only. A lion will never eat grass, even if there is no animal around. Swadharma. It just follows Swadharma. It dies also hungry. But in a huge jungle where there is only grass, but not a single animal, what will a lion do? It will die of starvation. That is very tough and strict following of Swadharma because it is a programmed. For human being, you have something called that Vichakshana. Let me be alive doing something else unless I get an opportunity to get back to my Swadharma. Here, human being uses that kind of a Vichakshana, that discrimination. And he just says that, let me stay alive at least. Okay, he will do it. That is the difference between us and the other creatures.
So what is
basically,
right thing to do?
you should be lucky.
What is the right thing to do? Which one to choose? It's up to you, is it?
No,
it's definitely up to you. Definitely. If you say, okay, for example, I'm getting 10,000 doing my Swadharma, I'm getting 20,000 doing something else, but which honestly I am not happy. Am I able to manage within what I am getting? There is akartum sekyam. I'm not going to do this paradharma. I'm just doing my dharma. Kartum sekyam. Somehow my chalalungi, I will go to the new job. Somehow I will manage. Kartum sekyam. You will do. Anyatha kartum sekyam. Okay, I am best at this particular activity, which is giving me 10,000. Can I expand my activity within the same skill and have a couple of more contracts here and there as a freelancer, as something, and get at least 15,000 instead of not 20, or maybe I can make up the full 20 doing my own thing, which will make me more happy. This is anyatha avakartum sekyam. Either way, here analogy is purely our own choice.
It gets difficult when the choices are which ones to choose. That's why
choices are always difficult.
Difficult, and that's why it might have been called Dharma Sankat.
That is Dharma Sankat. Like everywhere, I think yesterday we were talking about, or day before, crossroads. Nature, the Prakriti puts us always in crossroads. You are at a crossroad, which road to choose? Then that is where Jnana helps us. Knowledge. The real knowledge is, am I going to be really happy? We extrapolate. Like today somebody tells me, okay, Prem, I'll give you $100,000 per month, not per year, per month. But you have to work in Mogadishu, Somalia, in the middle of what all is happening there, or somewhere in some other place. I will say, thank you. I'll not think for a second moment, because that is multiple times more than what I earn currently. But I'll say, thank you, boss, but no thank you. Isn't it? There, the choice is very easy. The choices get difficult. Like, it is like, it looks like a low-hanging fruit, but there is a lot of other things involved. That is where the choice is difficult. That is where the vichakshana, that is where the jnana, knowledge, everything comes. More often than not, we learn that with experience, but the wisdom lies in learning that while looking at others' experiences, instead of your own getting into the situation and then possibly saying, oh, did I do the right thing? Did I not do the right thing? Again, it's at every situation, every individual, the position is unique and the choice is unique. It is not like it's not like a prototype example that you can, it's not like a textbook example that you can do. That is why management is always tough. Management of our own self, management of our own mind, management of our own life. Management is a really tough subject. That is why it happens. Hari Om. Just I want to add one thing about the finding our Swadharma. There is a beautiful, excellent movie we watched with Swami Mitranandaji. The name of the movie is The Legend of Bagger Vance. English movie. Wow, it's simply superb, worth watching. If you can get it, we'll watch. Or I have it on my hard disk. Like we can add it to the list of to watch movies. Like Brahmra was saying, another movie, Modi movie.
Yeah.
We can add this also. Sometime we can watch this. I can play it.
Definitely. Would you like to close the session? Brahmraji, can we close the session? It's 2.
Hariom Prem Bhaiya, could you please put on the group the name of the movie, please?
Okay, I'll put it. It's called The Legend of Bagger Vance. I'll put it.
Dhanyavad.
The clue is Bagger Vance. Name is Bagger Vance. Bhagavan is pronounced there as Bagger Vance. One clue. There are many such things in that.
Yeah. I think today we had an extended discussion. We've overshot our time by around half an hour.
Yes.
We'll all be a little mindful of time. So we can, of course, continue the discussion on Swadharma tomorrow as well. Because we all
that's
need
what
to
I was suggesting other day, Brahmra. The manana, the chanting, maybe we can stop at 650 and give 40 minutes. 550, sorry.
Yeah.
550
Yeah.
and give 40 minutes for discussion. Maybe that is also going to give more insight to all of us.
Yeah. We can always spill over the discussion to the next day in case we have more to discuss. So let us wind up today.
Yeah, I will be posting Rajeshri Didis and please watch that. Huh?
Right. Thank you. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev. Hari Om.
Hariom, Dhanyavad for such a wonderful.
Everyone.